entrepreneur has experienced this. It's 3 a.m. and you're awake, not because of an alarm, but because of the stress that you have from the business. Payday is due, but you cannot meet it. You've got a massive event, but you can't do it. You're about to lose your most important client. You've got loads of stress and anxiety. You don't see no way out. All the doors are closing in. You don't know what to do, and it's about a couple of days until you feel like you're screwed. But what if the solution was not a new business or a new product or a new app, but instead the solution was as simple as something that was discovered over 2,000 years ago? The answer to all of this is Stoicism. Every entrepreneur experiences going to a battlefield. Stoicism lets you calm down and rethink properly. Doesn't matter how stressful things are. So learning Stoicism is the most important skill that entrepreneur can have more than ever. Entrepreneurship is very weird. At the moment, you have one side of things when you've got complete freedom if this thing works and all your dreams can be uplifted. But on the other hand, 98% of people are building businesses that only turn out into prisms that they designed, which is terrible. We are told to hustle hard, give up our 20s and even 30s, give up on our relationships, give up on absolutely everything, just to one day get anxious, burn out, get stressful, and just build our own prison ourselves. This is supposed to be an escape from a 9 to 5. Instead, we end up leaving that and creating our own 9 to 5 and causing an even bigger trap because people don't know Stoicism properly. We get addicted to things that are not even in our control, like the market, investors, current trends, anything. We're focusing on things that we have no control over. That is when Stoicism comes into things. Stop focusing on things that you cannot control. This is an absolute trap. We put our entire self-worth into this business that for 90% of people ain't gonna even work out. A good sales week, we feel like we're on top of the world. But if we launch a bad product, we feel like we're very bad and we're gonna lose. This messes with us mentally. It fucks us up completely. It's a mental roller coaster. There's no sure way to put it. We become reactive and impulsive and dread fear. That has to change. That is why Stoicism is so important. So watch along this video and learn loads about Stoicism. So this is when Stoicism comes into it, and it's probably not what you're thinking. Stoicism isn't just being some emotionless robot, and it's not just about accepting whatever happens. That is not it whatsoever. In fact, Stoicism is all about practical lessons about how to deal with stressful worlds, aka that's why it is so important to learn about Stoicism today. You may have heard of the man called Marcus Aurelius, the one who wrote down meditations over 2,000 years ago, and he was the emperor of Rome. And basically he had around several children die. He had wars to cover, a massive plague, and he dealt with all of this with doing simple tasks, all from Stoicism. That is why he is so popular from Stoicism today, because he had so many rules such as reading, journaling. He was super calm. That is why everyone follows his rules today. That's why Stoicism is so big, because of him. The core idea of Stoicism is to basically understand we have full control over. Stop overthinking and thinking about stuff that is not in your control. For example, the business. Stop thinking about the market or other things that are not in your control. In fact, think about stuff that is only in your control and stop thinking about everything else that you've got no control over, because that's just a waste of time. Focus on what you can personally control. As Epictetus says, it's not what happens to you, it's about how you control it. This is the entire point of Stoicism. Understand that the only thing in the world that you can control is your mind. That is why you have to really control what you're thinking about, your thoughts, your perception, everything all about. That is what Stoicism is so important in business. To stop getting so anxious about these moments because of things that you cannot control. Stop having to go with these employees that you're the one that hired in the first place. Take everything accountable. Stop thinking properly. Remember, everything that you have full control over is your mind. So be accountable, have good perception, and also have good thoughts, and stop blaming everyone else, because you're the only one that can control your own mind. If you cannot control it, then stop thinking about it. So this breaks down the practical principles of Stoicism and how it can help you today and how you can start doing it. Right, the Stoics were heavy on control. So let's talk about control. They break it down into two simple bits, what you can control and what you cannot control. Okay, so let's talk about what's not in your control. What is not in your control is that bug that's on your phone, or that employee that you hired that really fucked up. or how someone acts around you, or the market going down and crashing. That kind of stuff is not in your control. But what is in your control, which is what Stoics are all about, is your mind, your perception, your thoughts. Those three things are always going to be, all in your control, including accountability. So let's talk about that employee that we mentioned a minute ago. The employee that you hired that fucked up. Yes, the employee itself wasn't your fault for fucking up. But if you change your perception, it is your fault because you're the one that hired them for that job. If you didn't hire them for that job and hired someone else, that could have solved that mistake in the first place. So it's all about understanding what you can and cannot control and taking accountability. Stop blaming other people and take accountability for yourself and starting to understand what's in your control, which 99% of the time is always going to be your thoughts, okay? Keep that in mind. This part is massive for entrepreneurs. For instance, a normal entrepreneur would start blaming the market and be very upset about it. But a Stoic entrepreneur would be like, okay, the market's crashed. What can I do now? Do I start buying everything because it's so much lower, below market value? And then when it shoots up, they're all about their thoughts and changing their perception on how things are and, making everything a lot more happier and more positive, but without kind of, being over positive, knowing that ain't going to happen, if that makes sense. So the Stoic entrepreneur always thinks about what's in their control and how they can make that better and stop having to go at everything else that is not in their control. For instance, you cannot control how angry a client is, but what you can control is how you handle it, how calm you respond to them, how you talk back to them. These are things that the Stoics are crazy about. Yes, you cannot control how angry the client is, but what you can control is how you respond to the entire situation. This is not in the slightest about ignoring reality. It's about understanding what you can and cannot control. Once you understand the things that you cannot control and you just move off the top of your head, that's when you got so much more energy then to uplift and move into other things that require more energy and it doesn't take up as much time. Therefore, you can be more productive, especially on the business, rather than thinking about other things and then, kind of being a lot down. So it brings up your mood and you get a lot more productivity, and your energy boosts a lot more. What stands in our way becomes the way. That is a key lesson in Stoicism. Basically, whatever obstacles you face is a key lesson to grow, is a key move to grow. For example, look at one of the most famous entrepreneurs, Alex Hormozi. He failed several businesses before he took up, and that is because all of the businesses that failed gave him a key opportunity to grow and gave him, lessons. So for example, if you lose a client or lose money or the market crashes or, your business fails, that's not you losing, that's you learning a valuable lesson for the next time. So say for Alex Hormozi's case, that rather than, losing businesses and stuff like that, in fact, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to him because that made him realize what mistakes he made, what things he could have tweaked and here and there, and that made him reach a massive empire with his business's accusation and stuff like that. So every time something bad happens, see it as a obstacle, but that's a really good obstacle in a way that you didn't lose anything. You've actually learned and you got educated by it. So every single bad thing kind of has its upsides. Obviously, if your mum dies or something, that's obviously not something good, but in the business sense of it, in an entrepreneurship way, all obstacles can obviously be uplifted, and that could be a room to grow, a way to 10x your business in a way that you never thought before. So finally, if all of this helped, then I can guarantee you like my other Stoic videos and mindset and entrepreneur videos. So if you do, then please like, subscribe and check out my other videos. Hope to see you there.